Welcome back to RGR, friends and neighbors. We are here on a win. There's a lot to it, and I see that there's a ton of you in here. I'm glad. Welcome to the show. Dan's here with me. Stevie Keys, thanks for the super chat already. The super chats are open, folks. If you want to help support us for what we do for you, slam those super chats. Anything that you choose to participate, we very much appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Stevie Keys. You are one of the perennials. That helps us keep going. It helps us bring things in and add software, add something that looks better, because you guys know my internet stream isn't the greatest, so we try to give you some other perks. And part of the perks is Dan. So welcome.
I mean, I guess if you want to treat it that way, I'm totally okay with that image.
Well, I can call you the drawback if you want. It's all up to you.
Either way, it could be. I know some people had some issues with how much I talk, so I can see it both ways.
Hey, that's the point, is talking. And I know a lot of you have a lot to say too. One of the things that we will do is eventually we will have the memberships up. This will probably become a members only video. The post game, the live Q&A on Monday nights will always be open to the public. But the other thing is we'll eventually do a Zoom where you'll hear us in our frank discussion like we talk to each other, which is not fit for broadcast. No. So that's just the way that I'm going to put that. And there were times tonight that I was cussing to myself. I will freely admit that. But for the most part, I felt like this team got a fire lit underneath them last week, not only by the leaders like Tyrann Mathieu and Patrick Holmes, but I'm sure by the coaching staff as well. And I felt everybody played with some urgency and, quite frankly, in an effort not to be embarrassed again.
Exactly. And I think that really the offensive line got after it. Like, they did not like what happened to them against the Raiders. They knew they should not have been bullied by that defensive line and in front seven at the way that they were. And even with, injuries, Osemele, Schwartz, Ryder, who I'm going to assume is not exactly an injury, because Ryder just was not playing very well. This was an excuse to get Kilgore out there to see what he provides. And you want to know what he provides? Competent center play. That's exactly what we saw tonight. And that's all we need is competent center play, because it starts from the center and it goes out. And you saw, even in the run blocking, Kilgore is not known for his run blocking, guys. He's not known for it. He's a more of an athlete type of a finesse offensive lineman. And they came out and they bullied the Bills defensive line. They bullied them. They were getting combos to the second level, making Clyde, free. He was able to get into the second level pretty free most of the night, and he was breaking off these 8-10 yard gains. He averaged over 6 yards the whole game on all of his carries. Yeah, that's incredible. So
and at the half, it was over 8.5, right?
Yeah, it was insane, because obviously we saw some of those at the end of the game where they knew and they just blitzed everybody out to stop the run. Yeah. Lost a couple of yards there, but it was incredible to see this offensive line actually move people. And I just want to have a quick victory lap. Nick Allegretti. Thank you.
Right. I'll give you credit. He actually outplayed my expectation for him, which I know yours were higher than mine. So congratulations. And I see a lot of comments, folks. We're not going to do the exact question thing. Some of them will pop up here. I want to make sure that I highlight all the super chatters for helping us out. So Stevie, obviously, all the offensive linemen, we will cover every position. I promise you. And I do want to say a couple of things up top. One, yes, Stevie, this is the kind of game that I've been talking about for, 5 years. This is what happens when you have to run the ball and you're successful doing it. Now, it wasn't super huge. They didn't get blow-off the ball. I still want to see him in short yardage situations. They didn't have that many of those tonight, but you're right, Dan. They moved people out of the way for Clyde to do what Clyde does. And Stevie, I appreciate you saying that. One other shout out, Natalie, I want to say thank you to you. I appreciate your checking on us. Me and my family are fine. We are a distance away from the wildfires. We have a ton of smoke, but we do not have any fire near us. 2 weeks ago, we had a fire 4 miles away from us. That was a little tricky, but we are all safe and sound tonight, and I really appreciate your interest. Thank you very much. Another super chat, Nathan, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's really helpful, and I have not seen a question from you, Nathan, so come back and please ask one, because some of the regulars are in here, and you guys know how I try to treat them. Info's in here. Adam Bono again, thank you very much. I'm glad that you're excited for the memberships. Dan, are you excited for the memberships?
I can't wait. I think this is going to be a really cool thing for you guys to see a different side of us. We're always pretty, for the most part, we're uptight. I wouldn't say uptight, but we're upkept and trying to keep this family as friendly as possible. But off air, Ryan and I are very much kind of in and out. So it's going to be exciting to get, our actual true 100% risk-free personalities out there. And as an ex-Air Force maintainer, I can tell you that I am not as PG as this would let you believe.
Risk-free. I like that one. Yes, Dan is a vet. I am the son of a sailor, specifically. So my house is very, very loud and has some exceptional words as well. But we can't put that out for the public. This is a family show and we try to keep it professional. So thank you for your understanding. But for all of you supporting us, we will continue to support you and give you stuff that, quite frankly, is specific, because I've been waiting for this move for Ryder for quite a long time. Mm-hmm. And it just took them. I'm not sure what it took. I wish that I could tell you what it took for them to make the realization that you and I have seen on film for quite a while, actually. But the fact is they did it. Now, I can't say that it's going to be permanent. We don't know. There could be some injury that we didn't find out about, undisclosed or whatever. They're going to leave themselves wiggle room. But from what we saw, that was the single biggest difference on the offensive line, in my opinion, because of what they were able to do with the combos, with the point of attack. Clyde ran inside. Daryl ran inside, and that's where Daryl needs to run. So, I mean, I can't think of a bigger impact of any of those guys. Can you?
No, and I pointed out multiple times that often when Clyde's getting stopped behind line of scrimmage for less or 2 yards or less, it's because he's having to avoid, Austin Ryder getting pushed into the backfield, or, he's getting off his man, and that's, forcing him to make a cut or a spin or whatever it is behind line of scrimmage. And Kilgore just was able to do a little bit more than Ryder has been able to in his starts as, a Chief. He hasn't never been able to really get push off the line. And it's been an issue for the last 2 years. That's why they were not successful running in between the tackles last year. And we placed a lot of blame on, excuse me, Damian Williams for not seeing some cutback lanes, but he's also having to avoid, Austin Ryder in the backfield too. So, Kilgore, he's 31, if I recall correctly. He's still got some tread on his tires for a center, and a guy that has his ability to get out, and be an athlete and help pass protect. And that's another area that he improved this offensive line, is he wasn't, Mahomes wasn't facing much pressure from the center position or in the A gaps all night. So it was definitely a welcome sight to see Kilgore get in there and improve the offensive line, both in the run game and in the passing game.
I completely agree. And I mean, and this is the thing that it comes down to, is whatever reason it took, it happened now. And I think you could see on the other side, because he makes the two guys on either side of him play better by being better at this point of attack, by being nastier. That's the big thing. The second thing, obviously, was the injury to Schwartz. He tried to go, couldn't pull it off. I've been telling you guys for like 2 years now that the end is coming for the tackles. Like, they're getting older. This is part of the thing. It's not permanent. I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be back. But his change in Schwartz going out, Remmers moving over. I'm doing this backwards. Sorry, I have to reverse everything. Remmers going over to right tackle. That allowed Allegretti in there. And I thought he would play decently. I think he is a guard. I don't think he's a tackle. But he actually was better at the point of attack than I expected him to be. And he showed the tenacity along with Kilgore. And then Wiley, I think, upped his game as well. The three of them were a nasty trio in there.
They were getting pancakes left and right. It was really incredible to see. And I think that when you have some injuries and things like that, the guys that are cemented in there, in Fisher and and Wiley, both realize that not only do the guys coming in have to step the game up, they also have to help out them as much as they can, because they're not starters. So it's all everyone getting together, realizing that they have to make things better for Patrick Mahomes and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and hearing that the Bills were okay with letting them run the football and keeping it out of Patrick Mahomes' hands really kind of showed on the tape, because they were just getting pushed all night. They were getting, that big run from Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the second quarter. I think it was 30 or first or second quarter, his 31-yard run. That was the definition of drive a truck through that lane. There was nobody there. So,
well, and they weren't attacking it. The Bills clearly didn't think that however many runs they gave up, it wasn't until the second half where they actually decided, hey, we have to stop this. They weren't quick enough on the adaptation. I think that cost them. There's a lot of adaptation that has to happen. And I want to point out, Nipper Girl, thank you for your contribution as always. We know that you're a regular around here. A lot of friendly names.
Thank you.
And Ian Roberts, thank you as well. And you're tying right in. After watching the trio inside play, I do believe Kilgore needs to be the starter going forward, unless there's something we don't know about. There could always be an Andy and Andy thing, because Andy Heck and Andy Reid work very closely together. Andy Reid comes from being a line coach before he, had Favre and all the quarterback, monstrosities. That said, it takes two to tango, like you said. I thought the underlying thing, and there's a lot of people saying that the run problems were all Clyde. No, folks, I think this explained it is not Clyde.
Showed it. Yeah.
But I will say this as well. Excuse me. Clyde ran hard.
Yes.
Darryl ran hard. The fact that Darwin Thompson got on the field and actually produced, that was all those guys having a fire lit underneath them because of one Levy and Bell. And I think that is something that's going to continue. I'm glad to see them react to it. I wish it hadn't taken this long.
I completely agree. And like we talked about in our pregame show over the weekend, I think that unfortunately sometimes you need that loss to light that fire. We talked about how they didn't seem to be approaching every game with that it's just the next game mentality. You can't just, we're the Super Bowl champions and we're just going to run over people like the Raiders. That didn't happen. And I do believe they came into that game expecting to do that. And that it just didn't happen. They got, mauled on both sides of the ball. So this was a coming down to earth moment that they desperately needed. A good thing it happened, now instead of in the playoffs. Like say they get to the playoffs and then someone like the Titans just maul them on both sides of the football. That's too late. So good thing it happened early in the season, because we saw last year when the offensive line was having their issues and the offense didn't look as crisp as it had been, and they come off after the bye. Everything looks really good. They had some of those weird losses to the Titans, the Texans, where it kind of woke them up a little bit. And then they had that weird game against the Chargers that the field was crap and just everything was not looking right. Tyreek goes down with an injury. So everything, happens in the NFL. And I'm going to say this right now. If you look around the teams in the NFL, there are probably 10 that are absolutely decimated by injuries. Yeah. The Chiefs are starting to feel a little bit on their offensive line. And when you have depth that's tested, it's very important for those guys to come in and produce. And I think that adding Kilgore late in the offseason as they did helped that depth. And now we're seeing those dividends being paid off, and the guys that they, invested in Allegretti, bringing in Remmers in the offseason, as well as Kilgore. It's really helped them going forward.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing them continue and expand this, quite frankly, because chemistry is important on that group. Yeah. Want to highlight Aaron Morrow, our fearless mod. Aaron, I hope you're doing well, and covers another branch, so Semper Fi. A little bit of everybody all over the place. I like that. Maximo, thank you for yours. I appreciate that. Usually you throw a question in there, so I'm kind of waiting there. Finn brings up a topic that we're going to cover a little bit later, because before we move off the offense, I do want to say I was reluctantly happy with the production of Demarcus Robinson tonight. At the same time, I was even more happy with Byron Pringle, and I want to see him get more targets.
Yes. I mean, we saw at the end of the game, the Chiefs do not trust Mecole Hardman. They don't. He was not on the field. They had Travis Kelce playing fullback. They had Kaiser and all their tight ends coming in other than that and play at tight end. And they had Demarcus Robinson, Tyreek Hill, and Byron Pringle. That shows you the guys in clutch situations that they trust. Byron Pringle has some of the best hands on the team. He runs very crisp routes. And that 37-yard gain that he got also shows you that he knows where to go when the plays break down. As Mahomes is running out to his right, that safety drops down, and Pringle sees the wide open field and just runs into it. And then you can see Mahomes look down to find the sticks, and then looks up and Pringle's wide open. So this they showed you their hand, and they don't believe that Mecole Hardman is ready to take that next step, especially in clutch time. And that's a little bit concerning.
It is a little bit clearly the way that he recognizes things. He's talked about having some trouble with that, and they recognize that as well. I'm not ready to be too down on him. I think he'll continue to evolve. But the fact that Pringle's there and able to step up into that situation, I take that as a huge plus. I want to see him get more targets.
I do.
I want to make sure that we cover the topic that Finn brought up.
Yeah.
So butt kicker, I'm not terribly worried about it. I continue to not be worried about it because it's PATs. He hit the field goal when it mattered.
Exactly.
It's just a frustration to me.
Exactly. That's all it is. Everyone gets overly emotional about the extra points, but when you think about it, it's 1 point. And there could be so many different things that go into it. Maybe he just doesn't care as much. I don't care as much about 1 point. Maybe this just go for 2.
I don't want to say that, though, because I feel like he's a kid that wears his heart on his sleeve pretty well, and I do think that he cares. I think he misses Dustin Colquitt. Sorry.
Yeah, I think that too. But at the same time, who's holding his kicks on the field goals that he's nailing? It's the same guy. So
right.
That I suggested that earlier in the game too, but I've been thinking about it, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So whether it's mental lapses or it's I don't have a clue because I don't know anything about kicking a football through a field goal. So I would imagine it's right here. It's got to be right here. He's missed more extra points this year, and he's made many more clutch field goals. So where I'm at is that he's still mentally thinking when he's up there at an extra point, don't miss it. And he ends up missing a few here and there. But when those clutch field goals come around, he's always hitting them. So I'm not super worried about it right now. And unless this becomes like an every game trend, I'm going to continue to not be worried about it.
Fair enough. I'm right there with you. Dylan, as always, thank you very much, Dylan. Another stout supporter. We very much appreciate that. I think it'll be interesting when we get in the memberships because I have a feeling you'll enjoy some of the colorful language.
Yes.
It will be not kid friendly. I will guarantee you guys that.
I guarantee that. Promise.
But Dylan gets to the point, the first one on defense that I was trying to get to a little bit ago, and I'm guessing we see this fairly similarly. But how do you feel about Ward's play the last 2 weeks? And he also fellow Air Force maintainer. Nice, Dylan. I like that.
Awesome.
You guys are everywhere. I never knew anybody that served in the Air Force until I met you. So, except for TJ Williams, if you're out there back in the day. My problem is I knew TJ back when we were in college before he went. So that's what happens. But that story aside, I put it on Twitter and I still feel like this. There were mistakes made. Not his best game, 2 games in a row now. And that's why I put it this way, because he went back to old habits. He didn't get his head around on that touchdown. He wasn't worried about the pass. And that's something that we've seen him not evolve, that he needs to evolve on. And so my big concern is I worry that now his confidence is really shaken. And without that, no corner is going to be any good. How worried should we be?
Excuse me, outside of the touchdown, I don't think he played particularly poorly. I think outside of that touchdown drive at the end of the game, the defense actually was pretty good. And it was a little interesting to see Steve Spagnuolo kind of give them the touchdown almost. Like he didn't treat the end of the game like normally he would, where he's still his normal self. He kind of played, I believe it was mostly cover 2, and they just did pretty much whatever they wanted to and let him down the field. Yeah. And Ward, he's best in press and, in my opinion, best in goal line situations, in press man situations. But if you're not getting your head around to the quarterback, that's going to be an issue no matter what, especially for a guy who's improved his accuracy. You can't just assume that you're going to the boundary and that the ball's not going to be thrown because there's a little bit of space, especially with a guy like Stephon Diggs, who these guys all know where the boundaries are, where to get their feet in, where they need to stop to get a touchdown. That's never going to change, and it's only going to get more impressive with the way that guys. 2008, Santonio Holmes in the back of the end zone. 2009, in the back of the end zone. Like where it is. It's been an issue. It's been this thing forever, and you can't lose sight of the fact that there's still in a margin area you can throw the football. You can throw the football to the outside of the boundary, and it can still be a touchdown. You have to play the quarterback's eyes at all times, especially in the red zone. And he needs to start to do it more often. And if not, he's going to lose snaps.
Well, and for the first time, I will give him credit. Stephon Diggs is a serious wide receiver, folks. He is top echelon in this league. And both he and Breland had some trouble getting their jam right. They both got called for hands to the face. They both have a serious opponent there. So I can give him some credit for that. But like you said, it's about the technique. It's about understanding where the ball is going to come from. Again, something that seemed a little bit aloof last week. I don't think until L'Jarius Sneed gets back, folks, that there's anything going to come from this. They have to continue to work with him. Sam Madison will be all over him, I am absolutely sure. But they do feel long-term that he has the skill set. Nothing's changed for me. I still think he's a CB2, and I think he still can be a good CB2. We'll see if he continues to evolve from there. But there's plenty there. Thomas Passwater, thank you for your super chat. Very much appreciated. We're trying to get to everybody. Oh, Daryl Miller as well. You guys didn't ask any questions though, or comments. All right, fine. We'll have questions again next week, I promise. Sticking on the defense though, another thing to me, and you guys know how much this drives me insane when linebackers don't flow and attack what their gap is. It's okay if you get hung up. If you get a lineman that makes a great block on you, okay, fine. If you're going up against Quentin Nelson and you don't get to your gap, I can understand that.
I understand.
But it's the hesitation, especially tracking pursuit away when the play's on the opposite side from you. When you have an opportunity to stop somebody on a third down or make a play that actually affects the outcome of the game, I don't see it from any of the linebackers. I thought Damian Wilson came downhill a little bit early in the game, made a couple of good plays, but then it fizzled out, and I didn't see it the rest of the second half, to tell you the truth.
And that's true, but I think that I would like to shout out Anthony Hitchens. The last 3 weeks has stepped his game up. I think that, he's still not a great linebacker, but I think we're seeing more of the linebacker that we thought we were getting when we got him in the 3 off seasons ago. It's still, it's still murky. He's not, like I said, he's not playing absolutely great, but I think that he's kind of seen that this linebacker group outside of Willie Gay, who's very raw and doesn't have a lot of experience, is unathletic and not being able to do very much. So he's stepped his game a little bit. So good for him in that regard. But like you said, it's unspectacular outside of Willie Gay, who doesn't get much opportunity. He's the most explosive linebacker, and he's unfortunately just not experienced enough to know what to do in these kind of situations. So that's why he's not seeing the field as much. And we actually saw the Chiefs offense manipulate the linebackers of the Bills very well in their attempts to read what's going on. So I think that's got a lot to do with, I didn't expect Josh Allen to run as much as he did tonight, and that kind of threw them through a loop as well. They were trying to read the ball, and then he's got it going to the edge. So I give him a little bit of a pass on that. But like you said, if you're not filling your gap properly anyway, then most of the time, Devin Singletary is going to get that first down, and you're going to end up, being instead of getting it on fourth down, you're on the first down and still getting the football get on the field. So it's so frustrating. But again, like I said, I've seen Hitchens make an attempt to step up. So that at least makes me feel a bit better about the linebackers.
Yeah, and I'll give you that. I felt like overall the play, I didn't see blown coverage as much. Obviously, it was a run-oriented game, but Josh Allen was the leading rusher, 42 yards. So that's okay. Yeah. You did a solid job overall as a team, and if that's Anthony Hitchens lifting the rest of the defense, I'm all for that. I'm just saying I still want to see the aggressive part because they could have had tackles for loss. So that's what I'm into. Dr. Sanitary, I'm glad that you're back. It's been quite a while. Thanks for the super chat. We covered this a little bit ago, but bottom line, I'm not worried about his progression yet.
No.
I'm keeping an eye on it. I think Dan agrees, but we need to see something come here in the second half of this season.
Yeah, it's I'm only a little bit worried because he was a second-round pick, and I get that. But you also have to take into account that he's still learning the position. He was a corner in college, so there's a lot that goes into this. And I know that people love to look at DK Metcalf and Terry McLaurin and some of the guys out of the same draft, but you can't do that with players that have played the position most of the time, especially in college, you can't compare Mecole Hardman to DK Metcalf. Look at the guys.
Well, yeah, they're different. But I'll also say this: DK Metcalf would not be playing in this offense any more than he is.
Exactly.
DK runs 3 routes.
People just assume that DK Metcalf will come and be the number 2 receiver. No, he wouldn't. Yeah. He doesn't work that way. He probably would be the number 3.
Yeah, but not in Reed's offense. He would not be doing because he doesn't do enough. That's why he's not here. He has to run the complete route tree. He has to run it from every position. That's the big problem. So I understand why people like that, but I'm totally with you. That would not be happening. But yeah, long and short, Doctor, we're going to keep an eye on it, but we're not panicking yet. Lee Dre, I don't think we've seen your comments before, so welcome to the channel.
Thank you.
Thanks for the super chat. I don't feel, as much as I like Snead, and if you've been on this channel for a while, you know that I've been all over this guy since college. Before that, when Amik Robertson was the only guy getting press out of La Tech. But no, I don't think he's a one yet. He does great things. He has great instincts. Breezy is still the number one. He is right now, because as much as he got caught doing the little things wrong tonight, and those are on every play. Those little hooks, those little inside drags, they're on every play, folks. It's whether you get caught or not. Breezy's still the guy with the most experience, and honestly, with very, very good instincts, not only in the pass game, but in the run game as well. I think he and L'Jarius might be a really nice 1-2 punch with Ward as a backup here come a year from now, but I don't know how you feel, Dan.
So I'm going to take the plunge because you're apparently a little too afraid to. Yes, he 100% is the number one cornerback on this team. Breland is and Charvarius Ward are very similar. They're very similar players. What their strengths are their strengths, and they're about the same kind of player. The max they can get to, for me, is a CB2. I don't feel that Breland can get to that point because he relies too much, and Ward, on being too sticky with their hands. And I don't have an issue with holding penalties. I don't, because I think all corners in the NFL hold. Every single one of them does. Some of them don't get caught. If you watch number 27 on the Bills, Tre'Davious White, against Tyreek Hill this last night, he was holding him all game. All game. And he didn't get called. So I don't care so much about the holding penalties. It's just about when you get called and when you don't. L'Jarius Sneed has the entire package for a cornerback one in the NFL. And I get he's a rookie, but the speed, the ball skills, and the quickness, and he's getting better in the run game. It's going to come. He's still a rookie, so he's got to figure out that downhill thing. But everything, I'm all in, 100%. Cornerback one of this team.
You're defeating my purpose. I'm trying to keep the expectations down for LJ.
I can't do it after seeing after seeing these cornerbacks after he's been out. I mean, I'm already all over it.
All right, well, hey, you guys heard Dan say it first. He had to jump the gun. All right.
Sometimes you just got to jump it.
Aaron, very much appreciate you keep us on track. Actually, I just saw a total of 450. Welcome, folks.
That's awesome. Thank you.
That means there's a bunch of you that aren't here every Monday night, so welcome. Like and sub the channel too, so you know when we do this again. We try to keep a schedule as rigid as we can. Yeah. Obviously, with all these games moving around, we're just kind of playing it by ear.
Exactly. Just whatever happens. 3 Monday night games already this year. That's awesome.
Oh, it's incredible. But hey, if you wanted to see the Chiefs in prime time, if you have trouble making you work Sundays, this is the best season you've ever had. You know what I mean?
This was one of the best Monday night games I've ever seen. Just the time, like it felt. A lot of people were talking about how it felt bizarre and weird. And I'm just sitting back like, this is awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad you liked it. I'm tired. I got up early. I had to work extra hours.
I got up early too.
Yeah. I mean, earlier than normal. Okay, you just get up early because I don't. I'm better at midnight than I am at 9 a.m. So I'll tell you that. So obviously the secondary, I didn't see too much at the safety position. I felt like they came along. Stubbornly, we saw Dan back there at free a couple of times.
I don't get it.
But as I said yesterday, credit to him, he makes plays from time to time from the closer positions, and that's when he was in the nickel linebacker spot. He sealed the game with that pick, and that's what he's good at. He's crafty. It's just playing the whole field from the back of it. That's what I don't like. But
yeah. I liked Thornhill in this game. I think he played pretty well. He actually had to come recover from Dan Sorensen's mistake earlier in the game to try to cut off that throw. So, I mean, we see the speed, and there's a reason he's the starting free safety on this team. Make no doubt about it. But if you watch the game, like I know Steve Spagnuolo watches, everything that Sorensen does well, he does underneath there. It's everything. All of his interceptions have come underneath there. Like, this is what he does. I guess they just assume because he's a jack of all trades that they can just throw him back there sometimes and get away with it. But
and it's a trade-off because they want to be able to disguise things that make them appear interchangeable, and then they know they're not. There are worse things at the end of the day, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I get it. I still think Terran's got some Matthews got some going to do. He's not what we saw last year. And that he's still obviously an exceptional safety. He's still playing really well. But he came in on fire in that last year, especially towards the end of the season. He was doing everything. And, I mean, when you set your fan face up like that, you kind of are in for a little bit of a regression. But I still think that he's going to be able to get there. And I think that the guys up front, the two leaders of this team on defense with, Frank Clark and Tyrann Mathieu are going to get to that point. It seems like they're taking a little bit longer than I'd like. It's now going into week 7, and I think that they're going to hit their stride here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I'm with you. And as we're working our way forward through the defense here, folks, Jeremy called it. I like this actually. This where you guys tell us what the topics are, and we just kind of roll. Okay. Nice. I said it on Twitter. You're right, Jeremy. At this point, the elevation in getting smacked in the face last week is great for the defense as a whole. But Derek Nottie in particular is raising his level of play. And I want them to extend him as soon as possible. I'm not sure he's eligible yet. I think it has to be the end of the season.
Man.
If I'm correct, I have to go back and check the rules. But as soon as you can, get it under contract because he's getting more expensive every game he plays.
Exactly.
Oh, and Mike Pennell looked like he took something early, like a stinger early.
Yeah,
he didn't come out of the game, though.
Yeah, he didn't look as effective as we've seen him. But again, Tershawn Wharton showing off his speed and athleticism, running down Josh Allen this time.
Right?
Where did this guy come from?
Well, I'm going to tell you where he's going. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm saying you have to shout out the scouting team, finding this guy and getting him as a UDFA. He's coming in and playing like he's a Mike Pennell type player. These guys that they find, they're just contributing right away. And that defensive front, they didn't get a ton of pressure on Allen in this game, but I think that the times that they did were important times. And unfortunately, sometimes the offense would get bailed out by some terrible calls. But, like I said, it goes one way or the other way. But Derek Nottie is one of the premier run defenders in the NFL. And he's showing you week after week now. And this game was incredible by Derek Nottie. I loved seeing him just get down in there and show that this is what he does and what he does best.
Yeah. And, in regard to Wharton, I haven't seen him do like a classic dip.
No.
I want to see how well he bends because I could see them moving him out to edge.
Got the size for it.
Okafor is gone. Yeah, and it's clearly the speed. And Okafor, I thought, put in some good reps, got hurt again. He's going to be out with a hamstring. My guess is it's going to be another couple of weeks, folks.
All right, guys. I mean, I tried to tell you before the season.
Yeah. He's a solid guy. He's a smart guy, and he understands where to be.
I get it.
When healthy, he does a good job, I think, mostly in driving the pass rush back to the other guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
I totally agree.
Okay. So that said, he's not indispensable. So my thought is if Tano can go outside, I think Tano's playing better in at the 3-tech. So I'd like to see them give Wharton some wide snaps together with Taco and have a 4-man rotation there that I think can really do some damage. I just don't know if it happens this year or if he's too valuable on the inside right now because of the plays like he makes.
Yeah, I think that's probably pretty accurate. They might probably get a little creative and get Willie Gay out there too. He had a pretty good pass rush bend outside against the Raiders that helped force that interception last week. So, I mean, they have enough bodies that they can fill in anywhere on the defensive line. The size, the speed they have with Wharton and K-Pass and Frank Clark and Chris Jones, they have a more than enough to get by. And I'm not too worried about the injury. And there's a reason they brought the guys with the skill sets that they have in because unfortunately for guys like Alex Okafor does happen to get injured a little bit too often.
Yeah. Well, and I'll say this too. You can feel good about the bulk of the totality of the group because Damon Harris played a lot of snaps in that Super Bowl and he was inactive tonight. That's how they feel about the evolution of their edge group. And yes, there's more to go. I hope that they do some creative things. Mike Dana, we don't have any update on him. I don't know when he's going to be back. Aaron, thanks for telling me that. Over 500 again tonight, folks. So that means there's a lot of new faces. We want to welcome you. Thanks for coming out. This is Dan Harms. I'm Ryan Tracy. I did this over on Locked On Chiefs tonight as well. The nice thing about having two shows is that I can do this twice. So what we're going to do to wrap it up, because we're already over 35 minutes, which is supposed to be a 20-minute show. I don't know what we're doing.
Don't know how that happened.
I know, right? But welcome everyone that's new. Like and sub so you can join us again. Really appreciate everybody coming out and all the super chats. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
But before we close out, I want to know from you. You go first. You go first or second, I don't care. You decide. But if you had to give a game ball, which side of the ball would it be, or would you want to give one on both sides? Who are your standout players?
I'm giving it to the entire offensive line, 100% up front. Without the job that they did opening up holes for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, this game does not happen. They don't get 240 plus rushing yards in this game. And this is the first time they went over 200 yards in a game since 2016. That shows you what they think about Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and I think that they wanted to establish some physicality. And normally you wouldn't see this type of a game from a Patrick Mahomes-led offense, but I think what the Raiders did to them, wanted them to just absolutely demolish one side of the football, and that was the Bills' defensive line and front seven, because they were all up everywhere in this game, letting Clyde and Daryl and even Darwin do whatever they wanted to. They were just incredible. So, my game ball goes 100% to the offensive line.
I was going to go CEH just because he was the bell cow. He was faced with some adversity from last week, et cetera, but I'm going to take a step back. And because of what we saw across the board, the defensive front creating more pressure, the defensive secondary doing their job better, all of them being more aggressive, rolling with the punches with Schwartz, and having the ability to recover, something that Andy doesn't do that often, and make the change at center. This comes back to the head coach being a guy that can, as good as he is, even when he gets to the point where he is needing something to change, that he can admit he needs to change it up, and he did. So I'm going to take it back to Big Red because I think he deserves that. Nate, I'm sorry you're late, but Lev will not be the starter. Dan and I are both certain. It's not even close.
It'll never be. He'll never start. I promise you that.
Best thing, unless Clyde isn't available, right?
Exactly. That's the only time he'll start. Because
one or two things. This makes you the best probably running back trio easily in the AFC. Maybe in the league, well, I don't know. I guess you could still argue about the Ravens. Never mind. I might have gone a little overboard on that one.
Yeah, the Ravens still have the best.
But they're up there. Now they have three legit backs, and you saw what Daryl can do now. If he's your third back, you're in decent shape if you can get that kind of blocking structure. So Lev is not here to take anybody's job. The evolution, the progression of the development of Clyde Edwards-Helaire is still paramount for that room, for Dylan McCullough and what he is doing under Eric Bieniemy until Eric gets his head coaching job, and let's just hope that Coach McCullough will stay with the Chiefs after Eric goes. But Lev is there to supplement, to give it, because quite frankly, Clyde's going to be sore tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Being a smaller guy, it helps him, but it also takes more damage. Like he is, you don't want to overtax him, and I think that's very, very smart of them to do. But Nate, thank you for your super chat.
Yes, thank you. I think if you look at his LSU career, they didn't use him a whole lot. He has a lot of tread in his tires, and I think the Chiefs want to keep it that way for as long as they end up having him. So bringing in Bell, we talked about on Monday or Saturday, Sunday with our other live stream, he's going to help bring in someone that you still have to almost respect as a number one back. When Daryl comes into the game, you kind of know what he's capable of doing and what he doesn't do very well. With Le'Veon Bell, you have to respect everything. He can line up outside. He can still rush between the tackles. He can get to the edge. So everything in that 1-2 punch will help keep them, fresh. It'll keep the running backs fresher longer, and it'll definitely help the offensive line because you have two guys that understand with really great vision what to do with the holes they provide.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, just as a parting gift, folks, I was going to talk about this in a couple days, but you know me, I can't sit on it.
Can't wait.
I miss Anthony, and Anthony, get better soon and get back on the roster, please. But having Travis Kelce line up as a back,
that was so good.
It's so good. B, there's a million wrinkles they can do off of it. And C, this is what Lev Bell is going to do, folks. He's going to line up in the same spot. They might even reverse it. They might go 4 wide with Lev Bell as one of them because there are people that will argue with you that he can be a wide receiver. and then they'll motion him in. If you have them in dime and you motion him in, Clyde's the distraction and Lev goes up the gut, you have room to run.
Yeah.
And also elsewhere, you can line them both as a split backfield. Even you can line them up as tailback if you want, behind Clyde, and then split them out. The options are endless. And now that they've seen it on film, teams have to prepare for it.
Oh, man. I wanted to wait to talk about it too, but Travis Kelce as a fullback made me so happy. At first, I forgot that Anthony Sherman wasn't playing. I'm like, why is Travis Kelce in the backfield as a fullback? And then he actually does a pretty good job leading the way too, making a couple of key blocks in some of those runs. And I'm just like, so Travis Kelce can play tight end, wide receiver, fullback, quarterback, running back. He can do it all. Just whatever. Doesn't matter.
I mean, and I got to tell you, when they go Wildcat with Travis and it's a full backfield there, now you have Lev and Clyde with him.
Oh, man.
Let's talk about options then, because
defenses right now cringing at listening to this right now.
Yeah, as they should be. I'm cringing thinking of the possibilities, and I'm not an offensive guy. I'm thinking in the reverse. How in the world would I attack that and stop it?
You can't. It's not possible. There's a reason they brought him in, and that's why they brought him in.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We are going to get off topic if we don't knock it off, folks. And I already lost focus because I'm yakking too much over here. I know you can't tell because my stream sucks. Eventually, I'll have a decent internet, and
we'll get it eventually.
We'll all be happier for it. But thank you very much for being with us tonight. Hope that you enjoyed your Chiefs Kingdom win tonight. We gave out our game balls. If you arrived late or you're somebody new to the channel, you can go back and watch this on replay here in just a minute. It doesn't take long to post, but we have stuff for you. We'll have stats. We'll both break down some film this week. I think I know where I'm going, and we'll see if Dan wants to jump the gun because he
know what I'm doing.
And
you already know. I already know.
So keep your eyes out. Thanks for everyone for the super chats and supporting us tonight. Guys. Very much helpful. Memberships are on the way, and then we'll be a little bit crazier. But thank you. Enjoy your Tuesday, and you on the East Coast, go get in bed. We'll talk to you later.